Hi everybody, it's Athena here. So the video today I would like to do is about the growth cycle of codependence. This basically means that for someone to develop codependence, there has to be a certain dysfunctional setting, and that setting is what will cause somebody to grow up and have codependency. It is something that's developed when there is one or two dysfunctional parents. And I'm going to go through what it starts with and then how it gets worse and worse over time. Now, just to start off with, somebody who grows up in a dysfunctional home usually experiences invalidation or repression of their true feelings or emotions. They are not allowed to fully express their feelings because the parent cannot handle it. The parent might punish the child if the child says that they are sad or that they don't like what the parent's doing. So a child learns to stifle that part of themselves, the truest part of themselves. And this will then lead to what is known as codependency. It will also lead to things such as depression and anxiety. In the worst case scenario, it will lead to the child developing a personality disorder. So that is what it starts with. Now, after that, what happens is it then leads to the child neglecting their own needs, and they begin to stifle their child within. They begin to stifle their real self. And they have to start denying that part of themselves to please the family, to please the dysfunctional parent or parents. So then comes the possible denial of a family secret or a denial of the fact that there is abuse going on. And then there is an increase of tolerance to any sort of emotional pain. And while the increase of the tolerance to the emotional pain happens, what also happens is that there is an inability for the child to actually grieve. It can cause a trauma in the brain. The younger the child is and the younger the dysfunction is, the more destructive the damage is to the brain of the child. So as these things happen, as the growth is blocked, the child will then maybe start using certain compulsive behaviors in order to cope with the emotional pain that they're feeling. And these compulsive behaviors will happen more and more because there's no other way for the child to lessen this emotional distress that they are feeling. And what happens then is that there is more progressive shame, and there is a loss of self-esteem. The child feels ashamed that it's wrong to them to have needs, because in the dysfunctional family, it's usually the parents' needs that come first. And what then happens is the child starts feeling out of control, and then they might even need to control situations more and more. Now, this is when the child is older, maybe a teenager or is already into early adulthood. They feel out of control a lot of the time, and then when they are in relationships, they will start needing to control the relationship more and more because they are full of insecurity, because they have quite severe difficulties with attachment, with trust, like I said, with self-esteem. What happens after this feeling out of control or this need to control more is that there are stress-related illnesses that start to develop. So the adult child now starts experiencing anxiety or depression for the first time. And then what happens with that is that the compulsions, whatever things that they used or did in order to self-soothe, they start to worsen. And there is generally progressive deterioration. So mood swings become a lot worse. The difficulties in intimate relationships become more and more severe. There is chronic unhappiness, so this is depression, this is anxiety. There is interference with recovery from any sort of substance that the adult child may be using. So even if they want to stop an addiction or a compulsive behavior, they aren't able to. It's constantly interfered with because they're not able to deal with the emotional pain. And that basically is the adult child living as a codependent. So they have compulsions or certain addictions, they have trouble with intimate relationships, they have stress-related illness or depression, very, very extreme mood swings. This could also be personality disorder behind all this. This, of course, depends on the severity of the dysfunction in the family home or the abuse or the trauma. The adult child is now a codependent who suffers a lot in their daily life and who doesn't know why this is. Or they might feel such an intense feeling of shame that they think there's something wrong with them, that they think that it's all about them and it's their fault that everything's messed up, that their relationships are messed up, that they're insecure, that they don't feel good about themselves. So they might just stay in this cycle of repetition compulsion because they don't know how to get out of it. So I hope that makes sense. That's the growth cycle of codependence, how it starts and then how it progresses. And of course, there is hope for people that suffer from codependence or who have developed other mental difficulties from growing up in a dysfunctional home. There's a lot of help out there. So if you need any pointers, then let me know and I will send you a link to a couple of websites which I found helpful when I was going through this. And can maybe help you as well. So that's the end of the video, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you have a good week. And like I said, if there's any questions at all that you would like to ask me, then feel free to send me an email and I will do a video answering your questions. Take care and see you next week. Bye.